Welcome to this unforgettable journey of love, loss, and redemption. Where you're watching from, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below to let us know your thoughts. Your support means everything to us. Ellis Parker had always been the quiet one. 18 with soft hands and a softer heart, she spent her weekends brushing horses, mending fences, and whispering lullabies to frighten foals on the Wesley family ranch. Her world was filled with hay dust, worn boots, and the sweet smell of wildflowers drifting through the southern wind. She came from a small house with creaky floors and a mother who worked too hard for too little. Ellis didn't dream of wealth. She dreamed of peace, safety, love that didn't make her feel like she had to shrink herself to be worthy of it. Roman Wesley was nothing like the boy she knew. He was 21, tall with stormy blue eyes and a voice that felt like velvet. Son of Charles Wesley, the man who owned half the county, Roman was groomed to take over the empire. Every step he took was calculated, every word careful, but his eyes betrayed something wild, something kind. Ellis first noticed him when he returned from college for the summer. He didn't walk like he was above the workers. He greeted the stable hands, carried water buckets, even helped mend the broken fence one afternoon when Ellis was struggling. "You always do everything alone?" he'd asked, holding out a gloved hand. She nodded shyly. "People usually expect me to." He smiled. "Maybe they shouldn't." That was the beginning. At first it was glances, long ones, the kind that feel like a secret. Then it became talks near the apple trees after her shift, talks that turned into laughter, laughter that turned into something that made her chest ache in the best way. He never made her feel small. Never treated her like she didn't belong. To him, she wasn't a ranch girl. She was just Ellis. They found hidden corners of the ranch where the grass grew tall and the cicadas sang at dusk. He read her poetry. She showed him how to braid a horse's mane. They watched fireflies blink above the fields like tiny lanterns dancing for them alone. But their world was delicate, like a glass flower. Roman's father had rules, and Roman, as heir, had expectations. Ellis was everything the Wesleys didn't approve of, a worker's daughter with no connections and no name. So they kept it quiet. They became shadows in the sun, ghosts in the daylight. But when night came, and the world turned soft and blue, they were themselves. Then came that July evening. The sky was painted with gold, the barn glowing in the last light of day. Ellis was brushing a chestnut mare when she heard Roman's footsteps. She didn't turn. She didn't have to. "I had to see you," he said, his voice low. "I'm not supposed to talk to you when your father's here," she whispered, teasing. "I don't care what he says." Before she could answer, he closed the space between them and kissed her. Slow, careful, like he was afraid she'd vanish. It wasn't wild. It wasn't rushed. It was reverent. And in that kiss, Ellis felt like she was no longer invisible. They didn't speak afterward. They didn't need to. Their hearts had already told the truth. That night, under the stars, they lay on a blanket by the old tree near the pasture. Roman traced the line of her jaw with his fingertips. "You feel like home," he whispered. She felt the same. They gave themselves to each other that night, not out of rebellion, but out of trust, out of a love that felt like it had been waiting through time just for them to find it. The wind wrapped around them. The moon hid behind soft clouds. The world hushed like it knew something sacred was happening. But beyond the tall grass, behind the wooden fence, someone else was there, watching, a shadow in the darkness, eyes full of judgment, a heart filled not with wonder, but with intent. Ellis and Roman didn't see them. They were too lost in each other, too busy believing that love, even in silence, even in secret, would be enough. They didn't know that everything was about to change, forever. The morning after their perfect night, the air in the Wesley mansion turned ice cold. Roman woke to the sound of heavy boots pounding down the hallway. He sat up, rubbing his eyes, still tasting the kiss they shared beneath the stars. But the door burst open like a thunderclap. His father stood there, red-faced, seething. Without a word, he raised Roman's phone and smashed it against the wall. Pieces flew like glass raindrops. Roman jumped from his bed. "What the hell? You're disgracing this family," Charles Wesley roared. His voice shook the windows. Roman's heart pounded. What are you talking about? You think I wouldn't find out? You think I wouldn't see? His father threw a folded envelope onto the bed. Inside were photos, black and white, grainy, taken from a distance. Ellis and Roman, holding hands behind the barn, kissing near the fence line, lying under the stars. Someone had followed them. Someone had spied. Roman's blood ran cold. You had me followed? I had the ranch watched, his father snapped, because I knew something wasn't right. And look at this, kissing a ranch girl like some common fool. Roman's voice cracked. She's not just some ranch girl. His father's eyes narrowed. You really think this is love? Roman, she is beneath you. She'll ruin everything this family built. Roman clenched his fists. She's the only thing in this world that makes me feel like me. Charles took a step closer. Then you better forget who you are. Roman tried to speak again, but his father raised his hand, not to strike, but to silence. You leave today. The jet is ready. You're flying to New York. There's a business summit. You'll stay there. You'll work. You'll focus on your future. Roman's chest tightened. I won't go. You can't make me. Oh, can I? Charles hissed. You think she's safe? That little girl with no money, no name. I can make her disappear from this town so fast, no one will remember she ever existed. The room spun. Roman felt like he couldn't breathe. You wouldn't. His father's voice dropped to a venomous whisper. Try me. Within 2 hours, Roman was packed, escorted to the family jet like a prisoner, his phone destroyed, his accounts frozen. His friends were told he'd taken time away for family business. His life, everything he had known, was suddenly locked inside boardrooms, luxury hotels, and the suffocating smile of wealth. He left with no goodbye, no message, only the memory of her touch. And Ellis, she waited. She went to the tree where they kissed. She walked to the barn every evening, hoping he'd be there, leaning on the wooden gate with that crooked smile, but he never came. At first, she thought something had happened. Then she begged herself to believe he'd explain soon. Then, silence. Weeks passed. She tried to call. His number? Disconnected. She went to the mansion gates. Security blocked her path. He's not here, they said coldly, and you're not welcome. It shattered her. She stopped eating, stopped speaking. The light in her eyes dimmed, and then, one morning in the silence of her tiny bedroom, she threw up. She stared at the test in her hand, pregnant. Her trembling fingers brushed her stomach. Roman's child was growing inside her, a secret that tied them forever, even if the world had torn them apart. She sank to the floor sobbing, not from shame, but from the cruel truth. He was gone, and she was completely, devastatingly alone. Ellis stood in front of the cracked mirror in her bedroom, one hand pressed gently to the swell of her belly. 7 months. 7 months without Roman. 7 months of unanswered questions, of aching silence, of heartbreak that no one could see but everyone whispered about. The baby inside her moved softly that night, like it knew her tears were falling again. She had imagined this part differently. She'd imagined Roman beside her, painting the nursery, kissing her stomach, laughing every time the baby kicked. But instead, all she had were shadows, peeling walls, and judgment dripping from every corner of town. At first, she tried to be strong. She told herself he was coming back, that he didn't know, that something had stopped him. But weeks turned into months. The letters she wrote were returned unopened. The number she had memorized was now a dead end. Every time she passed by the Wesley estate, the gates seemed taller, the silence louder. And the town? It wasn't kind. She'd grown up with these people. Neighbors, teachers, church ladies who used to pinch her cheek when she was little. But now they saw her and turned away. You seen Ellis? Someone would say in the diner. Shame, really. Such a nice girl. She's pregnant, did you hear? No husband, no ring, trash. Some whispered. Others didn't bother hiding their disgust. One woman spat near her boots outside the grocery store. That's what happens when you chase after men you can't have, she sneered. Ellis didn't respond. She just held her belly and walked home, her heart cracking with each step. Her mother, already tired from working 2 jobs, had no answers either. You should go, baby, she whispered one night. You can't raise a child in a town that's already decided they hate you. So Ellis packed. Not much, just a worn suitcase with secondhand baby clothes, a faded photo of her parents before her father died, and the only picture she had of her and Roman, blurry, joyful, taken at the summer fair before everything shattered. She didn't cry when she zipped the bag. She didn't cry when she tiptoed past her sleeping mother's door and placed a folded letter on the table. But when she stood on the porch one last time, belly heavy beneath her jacket, the wind cold against her cheeks, she whispered, "Goodbye." It was 2:13 a.m. when she walked into the darkness. No headlights, no goodbye hug, no one watching, just silence. Ellis took the bus out of town. She didn't know where she was going, only that it had to be far enough. Far from cruel eyes, far from gates that locked her out, far from the boy who had promised her forever, then vanished. She stared out the window as fields turned into highways and highways into cities. She clutched her belly and made a silent vow. No one will hurt you the way they hurt me. You'll grow up free. You'll grow up loved. Even if I'm all you have. Back in the small town, morning came like any other. But when Ellis didn't show up to the clinic for her checkup, when her mother found the letter, when her friends noticed her tiny house stood cold and empty, it was already too late. She was gone. No forwarding address, no trail, no goodbye. To some, she became a rumor. To others, a ghost. And to Roman Wesley, who was still trapped behind boardroom windows and lifeless conference calls, she became a secret that haunted his every breath. He didn't know she had carried his child, didn't know she had been shamed, abandoned, broken. He just knew that he couldn't forget her, that no matter how many cities he flew to, how many suits he wore, or fake smiles he gave, her name lived beneath every heartbeat. But by then, Ellis Parker had disappeared without a trace. 15 years had passed like smoke slipping through fingers Roman could never quite close. From the outside, he had it all. His name shimmered across business magazines, whispered in boardrooms, and stamped on towering glass buildings. Roman Wesley, they said, the billionaire, the visionary, the man with the golden touch. But inside, he was hollow. Success clung to him like a mask, but it couldn't hide the ache. No champagne toast, no headline, no supermodel on his arm could fill the place where Ellis Parker once lived. He had searched for her quietly at first. Discreet inquiries, old connections, hired hands. But they all hit the same wall. She's gone, no trace, just vanished. And so, over time, he buried her in silence, but never forgot her. That night, Roman attended a private gala in Charleston. It was a prestigious event for education reform, something he funded generously, more out of guilt than pride. He barely paid attention to the speakers as he sipped his scotch, distant. Then a woman stepped on stage. She wore a simple black dress, no jewelry, no flash, just grace. She carried herself with quiet strength, the kind earned through fire. Roman leaned forward. Her voice, it was soft, deliberate. She spoke about rural education, about single mothers, about children who needed someone to believe in them. But it wasn't her words that made his heart slam in his chest. It was her eyes. Eyes he had memorized in a barn under summer stars. Eyes that once held him like a lifeline. "Ellis?" he whispered, standing slowly. The gala melted away. He didn't hear the applause, didn't notice the whispers. He was already moving, already pushing past tables and murmuring staff. He didn't care that people stared. He didn't care about decorum. He had to see her. Backstage, he caught a glimpse of her speaking with an organizer. She was older now, of course. Her hair was shorter, her posture straighter. She looked like a woman who had fought wars and won, but it was her. She turned. Their eyes met. She froze. Roman stopped a few feet away, breathless. "Ellis?" Her lips parted. A flicker of something crossed her face. Shock, hesitation, pain. He stepped closer. "You're alive." Ellis swallowed hard. "I had to be," she said softly, her voice steadier than her heart. "For my son." The words cracked through him like lightning. "Son?" he whispered. She gave a small nod, her gaze unwavering. Roman staggered back a step, his knees nearly buckled. "Is he Mine? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she studied him, as if measuring the man in front of her against the boy she once loved. Yes, she finally said. Yours, from that night. Roman's hands trembled. 15 years, and I didn't know. Because you never came, she said, her voice quiet but sharp. I waited, Roman. I begged myself to believe you'd come. But you didn't. I didn't know, he choked out. My father, he took everything from me. He sent me away. He swore he'd ruin you if I didn't leave. I thought, God, I thought you'd moved on. Ellis's eyes glistened. He did ruin me, not with money, with silence, with shame. I was 19, alone, hated and pregnant, and I had to disappear to protect what was left of me. Roman pressed a hand to his face. Ellis, I'm so sorry. She looked at him, not with bitterness, but with the deep, unshakable calm of a mother who had weathered storms and survived. Sorry doesn't change the years I cried in the dark, she said. It doesn't give my son a father. Roman's voice broke. Can I meet him? She hesitated, and for a long moment the world held its breath. Then Ellis nodded once, slowly. His name is Ethan, she said. He's 14. He has your stubborn jaw, and my love of horses. Roman closed his eyes, a tear slipping down his cheek. Where is he? Home, with someone I trust. I wasn't ready to bring him here. I never imagined this. Roman looked at her, truly looked. Beyond the pain, beyond the years. I want to know him, Ellis, he said softly. I want to know you again, if you'll let me. Her expression didn't soften, but something flickered in her eyes. Something not broken, but buried. Hope. The next morning was painted in soft gold sunlight, but Roman felt like his chest held a thunderstorm. He hadn't slept. His mind was filled with images of Ellis, and of a boy he hadn't yet met, but somehow already loved with every shattered piece of his heart. He arrived early at the park Ellis had chosen, quiet, shaded, with a small wooden bench under a willow tree. It wasn't a grand place. No marble fountains, no polished sidewalks. But it was calm, gentle. Roman waited. His hands trembled. He checked his watch, then the path, then his watch again. And then he saw them. Ellis walked with slow, graceful steps beside a boy. Tall, lean, with eyes that mirrored his own. The boy wore a hoodie, his hands deep in his pockets, and headphones looped around his neck. Roman stood, his heart pounded, his breath caught. The world blurred except for one thing, his son. Ellis gave him a small nod. Aiden, she said softly. This is Roman. Aiden stopped, looked at the man. Roman stepped forward, his voice shaky but warm. Hi, Aiden. The boy tilted his head, quiet, guarded. His eyes scanned Roman's face with cautious curiosity. Roman didn't know what to say first. Every sentence felt too small. You look just like I did when I was your age, he finally said with a fragile smile. Aiden didn't respond, but his eyes lingered a little longer. Ellis sat down on the bench and gestured for the two of them to sit. Roman hesitated, then carefully took a seat beside Aiden. Not too close, not too far, just enough. I didn't know about you, Roman said, turning slightly. Not until last night. Aiden glanced at Ellis. She told me you were sent away, he murmured. She told me your father made you leave. Roman nodded slowly. It's true, I was 21. My father thought she wasn't good enough, that I was ruining our name, so he tore us apart. He told me she left, Roman added, voice breaking. He told me she ran off and never looked back. But it was all a lie. There was a long pause. Roman looked down, hands clasped tightly together. Every birthday I didn't show up for, every game I missed, every question you asked and didn't get an answer. I want you to know, I would have been there if I'd known. I would have held you from day one. I would have changed every diaper, stayed up every night. I would have been your dad. Aiden looked away for a moment. Roman's throat tightened. And now that I know, he whispered, I swear to you, I'll never leave you again. Silence stretched between them. The wind moved gently through the trees. Ellis watched, her hands folded, her heart fragile. Then Aiden did something no one expected. He leaned in and wrapped his arms around Roman. Tight. Roman froze, shocked, then melted into the hug, pulling the boy into him like he'd been drowning for 15 years and finally reached shore. "I'm glad you didn't know," Aiden whispered against Roman's shoulder, "because it means you didn't leave me on purpose." Tears welled in Roman's eyes. "I didn't," he choked. "Never." Ellis turned away slightly, wiping her eyes. The hug lasted a long time. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't rushed. It was everything they'd missed. Every bedtime story untold, every scraped knee left unattended, every birthday candle blown out alone. When they finally pulled apart, Roman touched the side of Aiden's face gently. "You're amazing," he said. "Your mother raised a warrior." Aiden smiled a little. "She's pretty tough." Roman chuckled, blinking tears. "That she is." They spent the next hour just talking. Aiden told him about his love for sketching cars, how he played soccer but hated math. Roman laughed and shared his own struggles with algebra as a kid. They discovered they both loved black coffee and late-night walks. With every word, every glance, the cracks between them slowly closed. Roman had missed a lifetime, but he wasn't going to miss another second. As the sun started to sink lower, Ellis rose and walked over to them. Roman stood beside Aiden now, not as a stranger, but as a father. And for the first time in the 15 years, Ellis looked at Roman not with distance, but with something close to peace. "Thank you," she said softly. Roman didn't answer. He just took her hand, gently with reverence, and held it for a moment that said more than words ever could. The world never knew. There were no headlines, no front-page stories, no tabloid buzz. And Roman Wesley, the billionaire who could command any spotlight he wanted, chose silence. He didn't want noise. He wanted healing. He wanted Ellis, and Aiden, and peace. For once there were no planes, no endless boardroom meetings, no hollow dinners with strangers. Just the soft rustle of leaves in the evening breeze, the morning chirps of birds on the window ledge, and the laughter of a boy who had found his father. Roman rented a small white cottage just 5 blocks from Ellis's place. It wasn't luxurious. The windows creaked, the water heater was stubborn, and the porch light flickered every night. But to him it was a palace, because it was near them. Every morning he woke up early, burned the toast at least twice, and tried his best to flip pancakes without flipping the entire skillet. Aiden laughed at him every time. And Ellis? She watched with quiet eyes, her heart slowly unfreezing after 15 years of surviving. Roman showed up for everything. School pickup, grocery runs, late-night conversations on Ellis's back porch. He didn't arrive with flowers or fancy gifts. He arrived with open hands and a soul ready to rebuild. He joined Ellis at her nonprofit, a small building painted sunflower yellow, where single mothers found hope again. Roman cleaned windows, hammered shelves, fixed leaking pipes. Sometimes he sat quietly with scared young women and just listened. They never knew he was a billionaire. He never told them. He just said, "I'm here to help." One rainy Thursday, Ellis found him sweeping the entrance hall with his sleeves rolled up and a smile on his face. She leaned against the doorway and stared at him for a long time. "You okay?" he asked, noticing her gaze. Ellis nodded slowly. "I'm just watching a man I never thought I'd see again, sweeping floors in my world like he belongs here." Roman put the broom down, walked to her, touched her hand. "I do belong here, Ellis," he said softly, "if you'll let me." That night, Ellis sat at her kitchen table after Aiden went to bed, staring at an old photograph she had once buried deep in a drawer. It was of her and Roman, barely adults, under the barn light during that final summer. Her eyes were bright then. His smile was full, and now, 15 years later, those same people stood again, wiser, stronger, and scarred. One Sunday evening, Ellis invited Roman and Aiden to the old ranch where it all began. It hadn't changed much. The grass had grown wilder, the barn doors creaked louder, and the fences wore the years like wrinkled skin. But the stars above, they burned just as fiercely. As they walked through the familiar field, Roman stopped suddenly. He turned toward the barn, eyes glistening. "This is where it all started," he whispered. "Where I first kissed you." Ellis smiled. and where everything ended. He looked at her, heart pounding. Not ended. Paused. He slowly reached into his coat pocket. His fingers closed around something small and cold. Then he walked to the exact spot, right beneath the barn's old lantern, and dropped to one knee. Ellis froze. Her hand flew to her mouth. Roman's voice shook, but not from fear, from the weight of love finally released. I was blind, Ellis. Blind to my family's power. Blind to your worth. Blind to the life I should have fought harder for. He opened the box. Inside was a gold ring. Simple, elegant, glowing in the moonlight. But I see clearly now, and I see you, the strongest woman I've ever known, the mother of my son, the love I never stopped feeling, even when I thought I'd lost you. He reached up, tears in his eyes. No crowds, no cameras, just us. Will you be my wife? Ellis didn't speak. Her eyes filled, her chest heaved. Then, with a soft cry, she nodded. Yes, she whispered. Yes, Roman. I waited 15 years to hear those words. Behind them, Aiden leaned against the barn door, clapping quietly with a crooked smile and tearful eyes. It's about time, he joked, voice thick with emotion. Roman stood, and Ellis fell into his arms. They didn't speak for a long time. They didn't need to. They were no longer broken, no longer lost in time. They were home. That night, they sat together on the porch of the old ranch house. Roman's arm wrapped gently around Ellis. Aiden lay across both their laps, dozing off under the stars. Ellis looked up. Do you think the world will understand this? She asked quietly. Roman kissed her temple. I don't care if it does, he said. The only world I need is sitting right here. And beneath the blanket of stars in a forgotten corner of a quiet town, three souls once torn apart by class and cruelty were stitched back together by something no one could take away. Love, forgiveness, and forever. No wealth, no mansion, no fame can compare to the quiet strength of love that survives pain, time, and injustice.